Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Los Angeles-based jazz saxophonist and educator Jeff Benedict. We spoke with him in January 2021 about his latest 2021 CD with his big band, The Weather Is Here, Wish You Were Beautiful. He also talked about COVID-19 and his life as a professor of music at the California State University. Over the years, he has appeared with the Los Angeles Philharmonic, the Los Angeles Chamber Orchestra, and many others. Get to know him and dig this interview.
Hey, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start off here. You have an album that's kind of coming out, more or less on the heels and during the middle of the pandemic. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on the timing of this and how you feel about it coming out during this particular time in human history.
We had finished recording the track just before the pandemic hit. I think I finished it up in February, just before things got kind of wacky in LA, and so I had to do the post production, during the pandemic. So we suspended it for a while, and then we when they lifted the stay at home order, we very carefully, just the engineer and I would meet and masked up and trying to be very careful. And, it was slow going. Mostly he would, do mixes and send them to me, and I would make comments and send them back. But we managed to, a little at a time, finish it. And, I thought about hanging on to it and releasing it at another time, but, it was finished. You got to strike while the iron's hot, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, and I really don't have any idea. I know that the world needs music right now, and it's very difficult to make music right now. I've been doing some little online projects and things, but it's not really the same. It felt like a good thing to do.
Yeah.
A way to contribute.
When I know LA, all of these regions of the country are in kind of different spheres of when it started and the intensity and how it's gone up and down. And I know LA's been a roller coaster ride. When did you realize that everything was kind of coming to a grinding halt and like maybe your last gig and how quick everything went away for you?
It's hard for me to remember an exact timeline, but, it seemed like it was in February. It came on pretty fast here. And LA shut down pretty hard at the beginning, which worked well at the beginning. We avoided the worst of it the first time around. Now, of course, we're like New York was then. But I had a couple of gigs lined up and at a winery, and of course they closed. They had to shut down. So. I don't think any of us really thought much about, that how long it was going to go on. It was just kind of like, okay, well, we got to do this. And at first it was, it's kind of like, okay, well, we're just going to suspend everything for a couple weeks, maybe a month, and see what happens, right? And then it just kind of ground on.
I think that's the interesting thing about this, whether it's interesting or whatever the exact term is that, of all of the interviews and all of the things that have happened since the beginning of this up until now, it was like in the beginning, a lot of musicians were like, yeah, we're going to get back at it late summer, early fall, maybe in the winter. This is just something that's going to get in the way of our lives. But it's interesting how this has become our lives. This is not something where people are thinking, all right, this is all going to go away at some point. This is more of like a permanent kind of a thing. And, the vaccine's out and people are hopeful, and that's great. Fauci said the fall, late summer, early fall would be great for everybody to kind of be back into a venue. But do we really know that? How many times, are we going to, anyway, it's interesting how it's become a part of our fabric of who we are. And then, of course, America in the world always has to add something on top of it, like racial unrest and a class war.
Right.
We can't just do a pandemic.
We can't just have a pandemic, right?
No. We always have to go over the top. And then we have to add all of this weird, surreal stuff that goes on top of it. It's like, the rest of the world just has to be looking at us like, why are you guys even making TV? You are TV, Let's move on to something happier here. I wanted to see the beginnings of jazz for you, like where you were born and raised and kind of how you started to get into music. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was I'm from Denver, Colorado. Not really known as an artistic hotbed, but oddly there were I don't know if it's oddly, but there are a lot of good musicians in Denver. It's a place people like to live, and so despite the lack of work and the difficulty for musicians of living there, there have always been a lot of good musicians in town. Like most kids, I started playing in 5th grade when we got instruments in school band, right? And I really wanted to play the clarinet. My dad had all these Benny Goodman records, and he was a big Benny Goodman fan, and I really wanted to play the clarinet, but I don't know. I guess they had too many. He told me I couldn't play the clarinet because of my teeth, which is silly, but at the time I was in 5th grade. But he said you can play the saxophone, and I didn't even know what a saxophone was. I was very disappointed. But it turned out to be a lucky thing. I'd probably be I don't know. I would have been the drum major of a marching band or something, and who knows? If I played the clarinet, I don't know where my life would have gone. I don't know. I started playing in a dance band when I was a boy, like 7th grade. I was very young, and there was a woman who her name was Joy Taylor, and she had an all-girl band in World War II and had toured the Pacific Theater and played everywhere. She knew Bob Hope, and if you named anybody from that period of time, she knew him on a first name basis. I mean, she was the real deal. And she started this dance band with kids, and we were playing my parents' music, and it was kind of a good gimmick. People thought it was cute. Oh, look, kids are playing our music. We played all the usual, Tuxedo Junction, String of Pearls, In the Mood, all that stuff. But I started. It kind of got me into the world of gigging. I think we got $5 a gig, and through that I've met a drummer who lived in my neighborhood, whose dad was a professional saxophonist. He played 6 nights a week at the Brown Palace Hotel in Denver, which is a real gig, health benefits and everything, So, he was a big influence on me. And I guess that's how I sort of could see the possibility of doing something, like playing the saxophone as a lifelong endeavor and not just, in high school band. And I was actually really fortunate to be in some very good groups when I was, coming up. And in high school, I played in a band that we got invited to the Montreux Jazz Festival, and I was lucky. I had a great upbringing. Kind of lucked into it.
What do you like the best about being a musician? What's the thing you look forward to the most? I mean, between being a musician and an educator, what do you like the best?
It's kind of the social aspect of it in a way. Of course, I would feel differently if I were a pianist and I could do something all by myself. But, as a saxophone player, you're just always forced to collaborate with other people. It's just been, a reality of my life since 5th grade. I had to find other people to get together and do something to make it, anything fun to do. For me, music is very personal, and I've made a lot of very significant personal relationships in my life, friends that through making music and have remained friends, for 30, 40 years. So I think that's for me, the community is the best thing about it.
What do you miss the most about that old world that we used to exist in? I mean, I know that there's probably a lot, but primarily, we've gone from, live gigs whenever you want to nothing. What do you miss the most about, going to the stage or anything music related?
Well, the social thing, right? I mean, it's just, I play in a couple of bands that we meet on Zoom, and and I still, I'm teaching saxophone students at Riverside City College, and that's all on Zoom. And it's something. You get 80% of a human connection when you talk to somebody on Zoom, but it's not. After a while, it's not enough.
What do you hope we all realize, both musician and the audience realizes, when we do actually return to, performances?
I hope that the value of, live synchronous, connection of being in the same room at the same time with people making music, is that people realize how special that is. It's one thing to listen to a recording, and then it's all good, but there's just nothing like being there when it's happening. There's an energy in the room when music is being made that is unmatched, I think. So I know I look forward to that.
Yeah, I do too. It's Kansas City's, before this all happened, we were probably in the best condition that we've been in decades. So it's kind of, any night you wanted to go out and see live music, you could see it. It was the highest possible caliber. So, speaking of live performances, what was the first live jazz show you ever saw that made you think, man, that's something I'd love to do?
Yeah, I think it was probably Maynard Ferguson. He was touring with his big band, and my best friend was a trumpet player, of course, so he, of course, wanted to go to this concert and see Maynard Ferguson. And somehow we managed to sit in the front row. I don't know how we did that, but we were in the front row. Maynard was spitting on us,
Back in the day.
And it was, again, it was just that energy, and boy, that was a band that just, it wasn't, in a lot of ways, maybe the best band of all time, but man, when they from the beginning to the end, they were in 100%. It's like when they they hit the ground running. And it's funny, when I was going to make a big band record, I just remembered how special I had thought that band was at the time. So and when I heard them, they were touring, promoting their MF Horn 4 and 5 record, which was a live record. And so I dug out that record. I'm like, oh yeah, what did I like so much about that band? And I was really just inspired by the energy and the force. I thought, yeah, that's what I want to do. They played with so much heart.
Yeah, and that's a good way of putting it. It was very, very forceful. Everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your students, your fans, but you're the one that's living your life. Who do you think you are?
Yeah. Well, I'm masquerading as a musician, but I've been doing it for a long time, so maybe I'm not a fake.
Right.
It just feels like I'm pulling this off,
Yeah.
I fooled him again. I don't know. I like to think of myself as a mentor. I like to, I really like to. Obviously, I make a living teaching, but just even more in kind of informal ways. If I meet kids who are into music or playing music, I just like to, I like sharing, encouraging them. People did that for me when I was young, and I just want to pass it on. I think it's part of being a musician. Is it's probably your responsibility is to pass it on and keep it alive. So
right on. That's great.
Other than that, I just try to be a good steward of the art of music. I like to promote music.
Jeff, that's great, man. I love that answer. Just passing it on. I think that's the key. That's kind of the spirit of jazz that I see. Music in general, but jazz has been really good about keeping that history alive and passing it on. So thank you for the material. Good luck. Stay safe out there. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you all hit the stage again.
Me too. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's a great talking.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Los Angeles, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Jeff for his time, cool, and class. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit Neon Jazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.